Welcome, Nick. My name is Anthony. I am Senior Business Strategy Manager in the Worldwide Learning Organization, and you are at our intro to our Microsoft 365. We have Aaron Hansen. He is our technical content lead, or he is on our team. Aaron, take it away.
Thanks, Anthony. As you mentioned, I'm on the learning team, specifically the Microsoft 365 technical content, and I own track for the Microsoft 365 fundamental certification. So today we'll be getting into, generally what is Microsoft 365. You may have heard of Microsoft 365. You may have heard of. We'll try to give you an idea of what's in Microsoft 365 and all you can do with it, what careers you want to go into, what careers are available with Microsoft 365 technologies, or just general roles-based paths you can go down to learn about more of Microsoft technologies. We'll talk about how Microsoft 365 is get down into the weeds, but we'll just talk about some of the principles that we adhere to in regards to security, privacy, and compliance. And then we'll give you some resources where you can learn more about Microsoft 365. We've got a quick Q&A at the end. So what is Microsoft 365? A lot of people probably know what Microsoft is. They know what Windows is. They know what Office is. You may have even heard of Office 365, which is, the first iteration of our cloud service, basically. You probably heard of email exchange out. That's one thing that we provide, but there's a lot of other stuff that for not only employees that are working on projects, but also the businesses and their IT teams and their security teams. We provide tools for them to make it easier. So Microsoft 365 is all about productivity. It's about personal productivity, getting your job done, making your day a little bit easier, and then organizational productivity, making the business more productive, make things easier, making things cost less, making things take less time. So on the personal productivity side, we generally want to work better as a team together and simplify that whole process. It's fun if you have to run down the hall to talk to this person and then run down the hall to talk to that person. We want teams to be able to call and connect easily all in one place, and we have Microsoft Teams for that. We want people to stay productive on the go. Actually, now with remote working common, we want Office to be accessible from everywhere, whether that's on their mobile phone or at home or in a coffee shop. And then the tools that you use on a day-to-day basis, we want to be smarter. We want AI-enabled tools that help you be more creative, that help you learn from the content that you're working on or the data you're working with. We want search to be better and more personable. We want personal assistance with built-in intelligent features. It means, AI-enabled tools telling you how to make your content or your project a little bit better. For organizations, the way that organizations are more managing all of the knowledge that all employees' heads, turning that into an ecosystem where experts rely on one another to learn from each other. Another that we do that is workplace analytics that looks at a bunch of different signals in Microsoft 365 and suggest ways to help teams work better together. For IT teams and IT administrators, we have tools that make all your computers, mobile phones, tablets, devices a lot easier. And we have Microsoft Endpoint Manager for that, managing all those things in one place as opposed to managing all those things in different tools on the systems. And then lastly, if you a secure organization, if your data is not secure, if your network is not secure, then you can't really be productive if you're trying to fill holes. So we provide tools to help you protect your business and mitigate risk. So To that end, for organizational productivity and personal, we have, these are more broken down features that we have available on Microsoft 365. We've got, instant messaging and meetings through Teams, email and calendaring through Outlook and Office, of course, file storage and sharing with OneDrive and Business, and then intranet, team sites, collaboration sites, communication sites through SharePoint and Yammer. Like I mentioned, for the business management or the organizational productivity side, we've simplified IT management with the Microsoft Endpoint Manager. We have better workflow management and process automation through Power Automate and SharePoint. And then through Microsoft Teams and the Power Platform about a little bit later, you can basically extend your line of business applications through those other tools. We provide tools for workflow and forms management, business intelligence with Power BI. Those are things like creating graphs, creating charts out of data easily, and ways to manage your work better through Planner, or you may have known that as Project. And then a whole range of security and compliance capabilities having to do with protecting people's identities and protecting access to the resources that you have on your network. And then protecting from outside threats, denial of service attacks, malware, phishing. We provide tools to help employees protect themselves and help the business protect themselves as well. For Microsoft 365, there's 4 ways to sign up for it, or there's 4 subscriptions we have for 365, and that's Enterprise for large businesses with thousands, tens of thousands of employees. We have subscriptions for small business for up to 300 employees. If you have been in any college institution or higher education, you may have used Microsoft 365 for education there. And then for our home users, there is a Microsoft 365 subscription for home users and family that basically just includes Office and a few of the cloud services like Exchange and Teams. So now that we've talked about kind of what's in Microsoft 365 and what you can do with it, where can you go with Microsoft 365? What types of careers or jobs there are many more jobs available than what we're talking about here, but when you work Microsoft 365 technologies and use Microsoft 365 to the fullest extent, these are the types of job roles that are available. And these are the types of roles that we're targeting on Microsoft Learn. So we have developers, data engineers, DevOps engineers, which are people who manage our Azure DevOps instances. Administrators, IT administrators, Teams administrators, SharePoint administrators. There's multiple different types of administrators that we work with or that can work with Microsoft 365. Data scientists with all the data that we collect and being able to manipulate it and visualize it through Power BI. Security engineers, like I mentioned, Microsoft 365 is investing hugely in security, and so there's going to be a great need for security engineers in the future. Solutions architects, they look at everything from the top down and try to build solutions out of all the tools that are available. AI engineers and functional consultants. Those are, just some of the roles available. Those are the ones that we look at Microsoft Learn and try to target with learning paths and certifications. So there are 3 levels of certifications. We have Microsoft 365 Fundamentals, which is kind of what we're talking about here. Once you get past the fundamentals, there's more role-based certifications available, which area you want to get into. So there's a Teamwork Administrator Associate, which I mentioned works with Teams. There is a Modern Desktop Administrator Associate, a Messaging Administrator Associate, a Developer Associate, Security Administrator Associate, and then another Teams Administrator Associate. Lastly, if you kind of bring all of those together and become an expert in sort of being an enterprise administrator, there's the Expert Administrator certification. So those are the ones from Microsoft. There are certainly more available for Azure and other technologies, Microsoft 3. But now we're going to get into a little bit more detail on some of the specifics of what can a Microsoft 365 actually do. So we talk productivity and organizational productivity, and personal productivity. The ways that Microsoft 365 empowers employees to be more productive is through one way is through engagement, and that's basically making employees connected to the business and the projects that they're working on. We want employees to feel like they have in their organization, feel like they have a say in how things run, or just feeling like they're informed from the leadership at the company. So we provide tools like Yammer, Microsoft Teams live events to help CEO and leadership at their company connect with their employees. I mentioned one way to help employees be more productive is through with their other employees through Microsoft Teams. You can IM and chat and host online meetings with rich video content and desktop sharing capability. Another way, obviously, is email and calendaring. That's not going anywhere. We still offer Outlook and calendaring services. Even though we have different ways of communicating now, email is not going. It's going to stay for many years to come. Being productive from anywhere, again, having Office on all your devices, being able to store and share your files from anywhere. That's part of OneDrive capabilities. And then empowering everyone with all of these tools, not just empowering your employees, but empowering those who have different accessibility needs. So all of our Microsoft products are built with accessibility in mind, and they meet our 7 accessibility principles that we do when building our products to make sure that everybody is empowered to do the best work that they can. So organizations have a little bit different way of being productive. It's not about the individual anymore. It's about what can the business do to be more productive, to save money, to save costs. And part of that is simplified management. Like I mentioned before, when you have to multiple thousands of devices, whether they're Windows computers or Mac computers or Android phones or Apple phones, or maybe even some Windows phones still, it's when you have to manage them all from different separate tools and sources. But with Microsoft Endpoint Manager, we brought all those together so you can now dictate minimum operating system requirements. You can make sure that everybody has the latest patches installed. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to access corporate resources or anything. Process automation through Power Automate and Flow, also through SharePoint. If you have a complicated business process that is not very efficient, it's kind of complicated, people get confused by it, Microsoft has many tools available to help you streamline that business process. Again, through accessibility, through Microsoft Teams and our platform, employees can create their own apps that connect to corporate data and corporate resources. They can create those apps without the need for, say, a developer or a complicated device. Forms and workflow management, I mentioned before, business intelligence through Power BI, and work management through Microsoft Planner. So we also have this tool called Workplace Analytics that kind of looks at multiple signals all around your organization, from employees working from multiple signals connecting, where they're connecting from. All those kind of things feed into Workplace Analytics and sort of suggest or report on how your employees or how your organization works together, their collaboration patterns, the impact product, their effectiveness as a workforce, and whether or not they engage. So Workplace Analytics can suggest ways to make all that better. And it's using AI in the back end in the back end to create those insights and actionable behavior. Microsoft Secure Score is another tool that we offer for businesses that gives a really look at your security posture in your whole organization. It's one score that looks at multiple different things across your business, and it says these are the places we feel you will, and here's an action plan on how to adjust. And so as you make these improvements, your score continually, and it's a nice, simple way for businesses to make sure that they're not being taken advantage of or they're not suffering any malicious attacks. Getting in about how secure Microsoft is, we'll start with how Microsoft 365 is built. A lot of vendors out there, security vendors, have one tool that is built for a specific threat or a specific aspect of security. And so a lot of companies end up with 10, 20, different security products in their organization. And Microsoft is trying to position itself as an all-up security provider. And so we security from the ground up. It's underpinned across every product and every service that we build, and we use AI. We're looking at signals, thousands and thousands of signals, actually trillions of signals across the entire net, to look at malicious attacks, to correlate where attacks are happening and try and prevent them from happening to your network. It's integrated across, there's security for your identity, the devices that you work on, the apps that you're actually working with on those devices, and then the data processing is actually secure. So at each level of access, there is another barrier to getting access to that. And it sounds complicated and it sounds cumbersome, but it's actually a very streamlined process that is thought of from the beginning and built into all of our products. So those three aspects of security are generally identity and access management, your identity, your logon credentials, protecting the access or you're trying to get access to the data or the website or the app, protecting from outside threats like malware, phishing, denial of service attacks, and then general cloud security. So for clients, we provide, some services and tools to help protect the information that you're working with, and governing that data, making sure that the people who are supposed to have access to that only have access to that data and no one else. So being able to perform audits on things like that, making sure that you are thinking about insider risk management. We have tools to, prevent either intentional leakage of data from inside your organization, abilities to abilities to discover and respond to regulatory bodies, other services for legal issues or things like that. So we have tools to provide all of that for organizations. And then one thing that Microsoft is thinking very heavily of going forward is privacy of our data, of your data, and how that is going to affect everybody in the future. So protecting your personal data requires, security, and it requires access control management and proper data classification. And that's kind of what we talked about in terms of compliance. But privacy is also about being accountable for and respecting our customers' choices. So it's accountable for and respecting our customers' choices. So it's accountable for and respecting our customers' choices. So it's accountable for and respecting our customers' choice. Collection of the data, what we do with that data, who has access to that data, and distribution of that data, who to and all that. So we try to follow the 6 privacy principles of control, transparency, security, strong legal protections, no content based, and that turns out to be a benefit to you. So So lastly, yeah, I think Anthony is going to some resources that we have to keep learning about Microsoft 360. So Anthony.
Yeah. So before we get to the resources, I'm going to ask a couple questions for you. Since this is we're now in September of 2020, how has the global pandemic shifted the landscape of personal and organizational productivity?
It certainly makes it a lot more difficult for organizations to manage a business, from home, and manage all the employees involved in the business from their homes. So with cloud technologies, it really makes it really easy because everybody has a work or company laptop device, and it makes it very easy to manage that device wherever it is. It doesn't have to be on a corporate network or anything like that. So it's changing in that regard, but Microsoft 365, it actually makes it very easy. For individuals and personal productivity, we have the tools available to make remote learning and remote work very easy. It's definitely a paradigm shift, but we have had in the past tools to make this work, and we now with Teams.
And speaking of the IT department, what roles are most in demand right now?
I would say probably security administrators, security engineers. As everything moves more to the cloud and things become a little bit more uncertain, the global economy or whatever, security is at the forefront of our investments. And so security engineers, developers, as more people move to the cloud and kind of move away from line of business applications on premises, we need developers to start taking the reins and connecting their line of business applications to Microsoft 365 and building that ecosystem and learning that ecosystem.
Absolutely. So let's say one of our viewers dreams of becoming an enterprise admin. What hard skills should they pursue to be successful in?
Pretty much for anybody who's looking into getting into an administrator role or any kind of IT or tech role, it's really that drive to solve problems. If you don't have the ability or the need to solve a problem when you see one, you probably won't go far, because being a leader is all about looking for the problems of the organization, finding ways to improve and using the tools and resources available to you to solve those problems. And Microsoft 365 provides a lot of different, and each company uses them a little bit different. Each company has a way of solving that problem, and we need unique problem solvers to use our tools to create new ways of working.
And what about developers who work on M365? Would you say is a similar skill set?
It's similar, but you also have to have the at Microsoft, we say you want to be a learn-it-all, not a know-it-all. You have to have that drive to keep learning things, and throughout your career as a developer, there's nobody who's going to be a successful developer who learns one language, one technology, and sticks with it their entire career. They're always going to be learning something new. So Microsoft 365, a lot of different technologies that it touches, and you can get involved in any one of them and learn something new every day.
And speaking of languages, are there any, or where should they start? What would be the if you had learned one or two languages, what would those languages be?
Definitely C# to start with, but a lot of our technologies use other languages with them. But C# we'll start with, and we do have a learning path and a certification level for Microsoft 365 developers. So I definitely suggest checking out.
And do you have any, say, bits of wisdom that acquired through your career that you would leave for our audience who's just starting to say?
It definitely goes back to what I said earlier about not know it all, because Microsoft is continually changing all our competitors are continually changing. And so as the world changes, as technology changes, you have to keep and try to learn something new every if not, off.
Absolutely. Thank you for your presentation. Before we sign off, I'd like to tell you about these resources. So first, we have the M365 learning path. And second, we have the M365 fundamentals certification details. So with the learning paths, you will get more in-depth knowledge of what Darren just spent 20 minutes or so presenting. And then if you want to prove or validate that you've learned enough about Microsoft 365 to go further, I would highly recommend pursuing the certification, which is the aka./M365 certification link. And also, before we let you go, I'll talk to you about the Cloud Skills Challenge. So this is an opportunity to earn a free certification exam by completing our Microsoft 365 Cloud Skills Challenge. So join today in the Learning Zone. You see the link right on your screen. And with that, have a wonderful Ignite.